one thing. Can you tell me or ensure me if the Israeli security cabinet thing was true? Is it true that they have decided to strike Iran?
You mean Operation Iron Strike?
Yes, yes.
If I had any kind of in-depth operational knowledge about Operation Iron Strike, I would never say it publicly. I will say that it's very clear from open intelligence sources that Operation Iron Strike has very much been viewed, and a lot of the open intelligence sources I looked at said has already been finalized. Whether or not when or where they're going to strike, that's a different story. That's another point with why we do things like strategic deception and denial. Like Goldie tries to talk about this in her own way there, Armin. Representative republics have an inherent disability in things like strategic deception and denial by the very open nature of our societies, right? Israel and the United States, bad guys, whether they're mullahs, whether they're Putin's criminalized counter-TICOMs, whatever, they just sit right outside your airbase and sip coffee with a cell phone. They go, oh, the activity's going up. They make a call and they say something is going to happen. So there are other approaches that those kinds of actors, like the good guys, have to take to keep the bad guys as guessing as much as we can.
Yeah, very correct. And on this notion of this brave people of Iran, I wanted to say that we are still looking for Gandalf and Jewish Tom, and if one day they will see it, it would be great. So they could reach out because we are worried about them. Next,
On that point, every single person from my network in Iran, not a single message is coming through any of them.
okay, Paul.
I just wanted to agree with Jeffrey on a lot of the points that he's making. It's exactly what we need to be looking at when, at a certain point, when the attack does occur, we need to be able to watch what the collateral damage is going to be. This is good. To me, this seems like, I don't know if Jeffrey will agree. I think we're looking at a different type of warfare here where casualties could be high, but trying to prevent those casualties is going to be a challenge, especially with the way things are progressing. And besides, a lot of the intel that are going back and forth, we're seeing this is not your typical type asymmetrical warfare. This is a warfare that's new on the horizon. And I think it's kind of like what we've seen a little bit of what happened in Venezuela to a certain degree, but it will have to see how it folds and how the military leaders decide they want to handle this. That's going to be the tricky part. Now, getting the people prepared for it, that's something that we can do, because getting that information to the people on the ground there will take out any kind of risk for collateral damage. The regime would not even notice. It's kind of like a mouse and cat game that we would have to do in order to get messages in and out, even though it's been hard. But I think it's possible to be able to do exactly that. It's just a matter of what platform we want to use and how we want to use it correctly.
Like covert operations.
Right.
That's all I
Okay.
had to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I didn't thought of that. Now, Francisco.
Yes, I want to ask a question to Jeffrey. So, what will be the consequences of successful revolution in Iran in regard to the oil supply to China? Because there was already Venezuela that has been taken out. Will this successful revolution push China more towards intervention and invade Taiwan, prepared for a push into conflict?
it's true that there's organizational operational ties between Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, and the Mullah regime, and a lot of that organizational operational ties takes different forms, both in hard power military activity, right? Say when like Putin was looking to sell 2 light water reactors to the mullahs, and the Chi-Coms are going to sit there and assist them in modifying it to produce fissional grade material, much like how Pakistan did that, and like how the mullahs gave like Shahed 136s to Putin to sit there and launch at Ukraine. I'm just using that as an example, the hard power collaboration. A lot of that also is like Latin power, economic power. Part and parcel of that is things like energy. Sure, that's true. So can I give you a magic 8 ball that says if what's the probability of the Chinese Communist Party getting involved or intervening in the current revolution going on in Iran by those brave Iranian protesters, considering the fact that Chi-Coms invested in the Mullah regime, producing a deep water port, if I remember correctly, to help get the heavy crude out of Iran to help feed their energy needs, right? And so, like, if the Chi-Coms seeing the Mullah regime is going to fall, especially considering Venezuela was taken away from them, that's one of the reasons why we did it. Now they're even more incentivized to do so. I can say it's probably low, given some of the issues regarding the Chinese Communist Party's lack of, and understand, give me a little room here. I'm like shooting from the hip here, right? So I'm being honest with I'm operating in less than perfect information. So
not everybody is nobody has a crystal ball to see the future, but
right, I'm just trying.
the
Go ahead.
internal problems of China cause an
Right.
intervention in Taiwan, not Iran.
So, okay, the highest degree of probability that the Chinese Communist Party are going to invade Taiwan no matter what. That's why we're doing things like the Porcupine Strategy to harden up Taiwan. So, the idea that somehow you kind of danced around something. Given the deconcentration of power, thanks to the really screwed up things that were done under previous administrations, specifically Obama and Biden, that exacerbated deconcentration of power in the international system. We are now in a asymmetric multipolar world, coupled with some of the internal kind of pressures in different adversarial countries, like demographic issues in both Russia and China, motivating them to strike Taiwan. If we get involved in helping the brave Persian protesters take down the regime, and we have a finite amount of missiles to sit there and defend things, that'll give the green light to Putin and the Chi-Coms to start acting out in their respective regions. And subsequently, like all of our adversaries are coordinating their efforts, they are coordinating their efforts. I promise you we're in the process of, I can't say how far along. Just know that issue is very, very much has been looked at and is very much being addressed by Pete Hegseth. No doubt.
Yeah, I know that there are not clear signs of an invasion. You need to evacuate civilians. You need to put medical camps along the coast before the Taiwanese invasion. So there are not clear signs already that will happen. But yeah, not having oil supply will increase the chance of that happening.
Right. So in other words, losing their like if the Chi-Coms lose their last source of, say, heavy crude via their, organization operational ties with the Mullah regime, that's going to make them go down the S-curve of prospect there and go, we have to go now.
Yeah.
So,
Domino.
sure. I mean, again, I can't say that the probability is 0. I can say that it's probably pretty low, regardless of where that probability shakes out. There's a couple of conclusions that still kind of outline why we still need to support our Iranian the Iranian revolutionaries that are our allies taking down the Mullah regime. One is that you can ill afford to allow the Mullah regime to stay in power because of all the previous things I talked about. Two is that we are almost assuredly already in the opening stages of a high intensity systemic war amongst a great power subset of the world system, which is like geopolitical longhand speak for high intensity world war. And that our actors are like the different adversarial actors, including the Chinese Communist Party, because of some of the domestic demographic issues I think alluded to, they're going to hit Taiwan no matter what. So while the concern is there, we definitely need a plan for post-Mullah regime transition and stability, which is one of the reasons why I'm very happy that Reza Pahlavi has put his hat in the ring to help steward the transition from a Mullah regime, autocratic theocracy to a whatever the Iranian people ultimately decide what kind of secular democracy or representative republic or post-Mullah government they want. While that issue is being looked at, we still have to take our best shot in helping out our Iranian allies that are protesters. I hope that was allowed to answer your
agree.
question.
Yeah, thank you.
Who just finished?
I was the last one asking.
Francisco. So after Francisco, we had Cat Lady. Cat Lady, you're here? Mario, I was calling your name, Mario. Go. Mario? You can speak, Mario. All right. We'll go back to you.
Okay, I just found my mouse. I couldn't find my mouse for a reason.
It's all right.
It was hiding. I'm not at the same level, I guess, so I'm trying to follow. But Jeffrey, did you say that we're already on the verge, like a World War III in a way? Like not in the way that people always say, but like a real way? Okay.
We're in the stages of a high intensity world war where members of the autocratic bloc are engaged in something called hybrid or gray zone conflict, which is conflict other than or underneath conventional and strategic warfare. Part and parcel of that is things like financial warfare, bioterrorism, destabilization efforts, mass migration, right?
But
Like terrorist activities.
But we're already in that, no?
We're already in the opening stages of that, not because of anything that the United States-led Western Alliance has done. It's very much all motivated by the autocratic bloc, both Putin and Xi and the mullahs and everybody on the other side.
Okay, one last thing. When would you say it started?
The autocratic bloc has been increasing their gray zone warfare, hybrid warfare, unrestricted. So gray zone conflicts, kind of a general term. Hybrid warfare is how Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state specifically views gray zone conflict. Unrestricted warfare is how the Chinese Communist Party views it. You can actually read Unrestricted Warfare. It was written by two PL intel officers back in it was leaked out of Beijing in 1999. They kind of talk about what defines the asymmetric counters to the United States. And now, thanks to Donald Trump, we've recaptured that. Advantages in conventional and strategic military capability. Those actions have bumped up, right? So when you see things like Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state getting involved in doing sabotage attacks all throughout NATO, or the fact that the Wagner Group was training Hamas in Central Africa prior to the terrorist attack of October 7th.
China built the tunnels.
Right. They also Wagner also trained Hamas on how to try to circumvent and punch through the security fence that Israel very much understandably built around Gaza to try and save their citizens being shot at by like Hamas and Hezbollah and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and all the rest.
But do you see any point that you can point vaguely even to where the beginning of this? So where did it begin? Do you see any, or was it like a long process, undefinable?
So you're saying, so there's a long process like I outlined. You're saying some key geopolitical and geostrategic events that show that we've gone up the escalation ladder regarding the autocratic bloc's hybrid and or gray zone conflict. Sure, you have Putin criminalized counterintelligence states illegal war of aggression in Ukraine when he violated the Budapest Memorandum and the Minsk 1 and 2 Accords, and he invaded into Ukraine in 2022. You had the Hamas target and attack Israel in October 7th. You have all the crazy stuff that's going on the Korean Peninsula. You had all the insecurity flows going on throughout Syria. I mean, again, Ozzy, forgive me if I'm brushing over some of the things that directly pertain to our Israeli allies. It's just I'm pressed for time. That's all. I'm not trying to if I'm saying something that you disagree with, by all means, jump in. Some of those
no problem.
events.
Thank you. And I'm Israeli, by the way, too. So thank you.
Ahmed Israel Chai.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
God bless America, I guess.
All right. So we have Dajjal right now.
Yeah.
Dajjal, you here? Yeah, he's here.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Yeah, just wanted to say I'm glad to hear about your pops, your dad. I hear he's doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Said you made contact with him. That's good. really glad to hear that. I was very relieved about that. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
No problem, man. No problem. No problem at all.
That's
He's going to ask him. He was talking about all these anti-Shah Iranians.
yeah, I remember.
That's it. Yeah, all these anti-Shah Iranians he knows. I want to know what his opinion was in all this because, because I know what.
He's gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. I was just going to follow up some Iranians like that because they do exist, but like it doesn't go along with what like Armin said, it doesn't go along with what we know from the people in Iran because they're overwhelmingly pro-Shah. So I was just going to follow up with that, but I guess I can. I was going to say something else, and I lost my train of thought. Just put me on the list, and I'll talk later. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Sure thing. Okay, so I need help with this name. Mahre? Are you here? I guess not. Daniel Dom. Daniel Dom?
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Just a little note. People talked about the amount of missiles Iran can, not Iran, the regime can fire, that they will fire all they have at once. Well, that's impossible because if we talk about the numbers that was publicly available, Israel destroyed about 150, if I'm correct, launchers out of the 300 they had.
Let me connect everybody to what you are saying. In order to fire a missile, you need a launcher, right? So you can have 1 million missiles. If you don't have a launcher, it's a very nice monument.
Yes, exactly. And taking part of it's a corrupt regime because it's a dictatorship. So it's a corrupt regime. So I can't believe they managed to build like 500 or 1,000 or I don't know how many launchers since
they got
the
restocked and
12th day.
We know that they got restocked and resupplied by Russia and by the Korean and the Chinese. We know it for a fact.
And it was in those amounts?
Well, I'm not in the Mossad. I don't really know, but
No.
I'm not willing to throw the dice on it. I mean, we know that they got resupply. It's enough.
Well, thank you.
Sure thing. Heidi?
Hi, this is my first time here on the premium. Thank you, Armin. I think that perhaps the dichotomy between the authoritarian system and the free market democracy system, which was the paradigm during the Cold War, really isn't how Donald Trump, most importantly, sees the world. And I think that that is what he is trying to work toward. And you can kind of see this progression. And it came out with his strategic security plan, which Putin very much liked because it aligns with his view of how the globe should be ordered. And what Russia and China were trying to achieve with BRICS. And if you'll notice, with this, in the situation with Iran, this first string he pulled was Venezuela. The regime not only has to deal with an uprising within its own borders, strategically started, by the way, but what came before that, which was devastating, the loss of Venezuelan oil, which wasn't just to supply China, but it was also a way that Russia used Venezuelan oil to hide the transport of their own oil. And I think another thing that I think perhaps is being ignored is that Iran and Russia do have a security agreement, and Russia has not activated it. It has sort of an Article 5 clause like NATO, where they can come to each other's aid, but don't have to. So I don't think we're necessarily on the brink or even in the beginning stages of World War III. What we may be is in the beginning stages of a complete global realignment that really works to Russia's advantage. So they are less likely to jump to World War III because they have an enormous interest in A, avoiding World War III, and B, seeing their own goals come to fruition. And that works to the Iranians' benefit. Having a free Iran, a free market Iran, would be a huge benefit to Russia, especially with Donald Trump's reinstatement of the Monroe Doctrine, where in a way he's withdrawing.
I think let Jeffrey respond to this, because I think you might be getting a lot of this wrong, and I think
yeah. So let's just let Jeffrey for a second say something, because you've been through really a lot of points, Heidi. So let's.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But it's challenging. It's nice, Jeffrey. Please.
No, I appreciate it. Putin is not interested in having a free market Iran. Putin's criminalized counterintelligence and the Chinese Communist Party have both adopted a state capitalist economic model, which is the contemporary form of corporate nationalism or the economic element of Italian fascism or German Nazism. And when an actor adopts a state capitalist economic model, it means that they're looking to maximize the relative Latin power aspect that underwrites what the Chi-Coms call comprehensive national power. And that means that the actors that do that view the world from a competitive perspective, and that economic system is meant to go to war. President Trump's national security strategy is very much in response to our adversaries adopting said hostile economic model, and we're adopting our own version of it to fight back, right? So, yeah, no, like Putin does not like President Trump's national security strategy at all. And as far as so you're thinking that somehow Putin's criminalized counterintelligence, like Russia, is demographically screwed? Like they're screwed. They haven't had a replacement, particularly white Russians, right? Which is also why Putin disproportionately mobilizes, say, Uzbeks, Turkmens, Tajikistanis, Muslims, the rest of it, because white Russians haven't had a replacement birth rate for like 50 years. And they were probably going to go extinct as a country, maybe in like 20, 30 years. And because of the casualties and the people fleeing Russia, thanks to Putin's criminalized counterintelligence states illegal aggression in Ukraine, maybe 5 years. So even if every woman in Russia got pregnant, they're still screwed. Actually, that would even make them more screwed.
Russia today is in the